All right, this is for my personal use. Um, Still working on Point Source. I'm trying to do artwork for copyright of, well, I mean, for Marshall card deck. So producing a little more artwork, but might want to include a couple inch rolls. So I'm reading this. This is the Sand Floating Bodies Sand Reckoner PDF. Somebody typed this up and put it together in PDF format, and it's Archimedes on Floating Bodies. Book 1, Basic Principles of Hydrostatics. And I'm working on the FTL system and a human being actually being able to go faster than the speed of light with a time differentiation to actually shorten it. So instead of all that cryo stuff, it's a reaction rate of a propulsion of an object or spacecraft through time. It's kind of like the warp. I mean, well, I don't know what they say about that, but it's there. You recharge rate the engine, and I'll read that after I read some of this. Proposition 2. The surface of any fluid at rest is the surface of a sphere whose center is the same as that of the Earth. Proposition 3. Of solids, those which, size for size, are equal weight with a fluid will, if let down into the fluid, be immersed so that they do not project above the surface but do not sink lower. Excuse me. I'll cut that out. That was crazy postulation. Okay, mass is mass. Yes. Fluid is a mass. It exists. So now that he's determined it in 0G, unbelievable. But do not sink lower. What a boundary layer, Archimedes. Oh my lord. Proposition 6. This guy skipped around. I think I have the full text, but we're just gonna skip around. If a solid, Proposition 6, if a solid lighter than a fluid is forcibly immersed in it, the solid will be driven upwards by a force equal to the difference between its weight and the weight of the fluid displaced. How do you say reaction rate? These guys, they just take it equal. It equals boundary layer 0. Unity state X, thank you. Oh my lord. Let us continue. Proposition 7. Yeah, unity state X. It goes to 0. It goes to boundary layer control. Bam! Object mass control. Yeah, let me read a little bit of Marshall. Yeah, interacting. Because true space at spend dash indums, integrations, mass interaction, zone of fluid mechanics, light, so object spacecraft has fuel interaction at velocity through a propulsive space volume time system, which means if we can safely create a G field, the Newtonian centrifugal force of control, we can build a spaceship that goes faster than light and can carry a human being in it. That is crazy equations. And it's, but then you have the electromagnetism, and are you recharging from the retreat? Because space is not empty. They get all these signals. Light makes it all the way here. Unbelievable. Let me move on before I go crazy. Proposition 8/9. If a solid in the form of a segment of a sphere and of a substance lighter than a fluid be immersed in it so that its base does not touch the surface, it will rest in such a position that the axis is perpendicular to the surface, and likewise if it is immersed so that the base is completely below the surface. Sounds a little Newton. My god, sounds a little Newton. Wow. Yeah, right, faster than light travel to system. Yeah, if spherical shell sustainable with G static system in place, in plane of geometry for a human being to stand up and sit there and act normal or whatever, with energy output, yeah, to sustain G environment with ability to propel mass conversion, rate or heat. So basically, you have to have enough energy to sustain a human being in a rotational format. And this is to overcome the g-force acceleration of propulsion to go faster, because you just go splat otherwise. Otherwise, you want to accelerate super, 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 super fast. And that takes propulsion. But in theory, in vacuum, there's nothing to stop your acceleration comparative to velocity. And these are all equations, but it comes down to the three-body reactionary system, which always postulates it exists, mass exists. Yes, we live in a three-dimensional world. And then, can mass really go faster than the speed of light? In vacuum, which I don't know if they believe in dimensions and all, I don't even know if I'm 100% on that. But in vacuum, you got neutrinos, X-rays, all this stuff going in space. And this is all through whatever, even the dark matter or regions they can't detect. You know, that might just be particle reformation in the great expanse of velocity, of interaction of the subatomic and all this other stuff. But it exists, and we can accelerate a human being faster than the speed of light. But then you need the energy system to maintain the G-system environment, you know, and then substance and food is always the postulation. But we are in a system floating in the massive vacuum of outer space. Yeah, it's crazy true and cool. Yeah, so gravity is everything. It's a great linker and binder of, you know, I can see why they say, you know, gravity is only affected up to the speed of light. And then once you hit past the speed of light, and that's a question, are you a fluid mechanic flow then through this A to B projection in actual distance, actual travel, which involves time and volume, which is time and distance. And so if light can go from A to B, that means we can go from B to A, back to the light. Yes, but we want to go faster than the light, and that's all sensory stuff. My God. Book 2 concerns the positions of stable hydrostatic equilibrium of right segment of a paraboloid of revolution of specific gravity less that of fluid in which it is immersed, with height h and parameter p for the generating parabola. Cool. It sounded crazy. Parabola is not a circle, though. Especially when it comes down to mass mechanics and interaction, which is kind of hinting at the overriding of the perpendicularity of it at the boundary layer control of statics equals 0. Yes, we know it goes to boundary layer control. Oh, maybe I'll skip this. Proposition 2 slids. Assume hot 3/4 p if the solid is placed in the fluid with its axis at any angle with the vertical, but that the base is either entirely outside the fluid or entirely submerged, the axis will return to vertical position. Sounds a little like electrostatics, mechanics, mass control. Oh my God, gravity and electromagnetism unified. Yes, unity state X. You're at a static plane of control. Crazy, this space engine. Yeah, and I'm like, in the ancients, I feel like I go read other, like, that sounds Newton, da da da, and then it's like, it was the ancients, and da da da, and then you get back to the Euclideans and all the math, and it's like, wow, dude, that mathematical equation is really, really true. Unbelievable. And never be disproved. You can't. It exists. It's too late for me. I built it. I did the equation. Damn. Yeah, that's why maybe they did have the unification. And I'm an idiot because I've devoted my life and my career to such a postulation. And it all led to taking Newton down. Well, I don't say taking down, but expanding his laws, or writing his laws, or writing. Yeah, I feel like I stand on giants. To me, it was obvious. But it's just an equation. It's G, and it extrapolates down to the electromagnetic of mass interaction level that you can design mechanical systems for, which we are. Biology is a mechanical system with the four forces of interaction. Okay. Give sufficient propositions 4-5/5 axis will return to vertical position like it's in a particle magnetic field of interaction. Proposition 4/5 gives sufficient conditions for the axis to return to the vertical for a tall paraboloid segment h greater than 3/4 p a dot soft parentheses base completely outside the surface of the fluid, ratio of specific gravity of solid to that of fluid greater than the square of 1-3/4 p divided by h, double eyeball downward slash parentheses base completely submerged, ratio specific gravity is smaller than 1 minus the square of the 1/3 pi. He's doing the spherical shell stuff. He's doing something crazy. He's probably working on that centroid, or it always aligns vertical, which sounds like it's in some kind of field. Yeah. What a reaction rate of mass. Oh, specific angle sounds like specific engine. Let me get back to this. Proposition 8. Assume slash soft parentheses 3/3/4 p less than h is less than parentheses 15/8 p. The ratio of specific gravity solid to fluid sounds like he's measuring the field to electromagnetic boundary layer of control. The ratio of specific gravities solid to fluid is less than the square of 1/3 p divided by h. The base is entirely outside the surface of the fluid. Then if the solid is placed in the fluid so that its axis is inclined to vertical, it will not return to the vertical position. It will remain only in the position where its axis makes certain specific angle with the surface of the fluid. How about a little statics? They always defined everything to 0 back then. The non-existence, the limit. Proposition 9, assume we'll skip that. It's a greater than, less than, double. The ratio of specific gravity is greater than -1 square. I think I just read that. This is proposition 9. Triple eyeball slashes down. The solid is placed in the fluid with its base entirely below the surface. Then the solid, if placed in the fluid with the axis inclined to the vertical, will not return to the vertical position and remain only in the position where its axis makes specific angle with the fluid of the fluid, the same angle as in Prop 8. What is he talking about? Terraforming a planet? That is crazy. Surface specific angle with surface. It's Archimedes, the sand reckoner. Now there's some other literature. I don't know if this is from them or not. It's in quotes though, so it's probably from the ancients. There are some King Gelen who think that the number of the sand is infinite in multitude, and I mean by the sand not only that which exists around Syracuse and the rest of Sicily, but also that which is found in every region, whether inhabited or habited. But I will try to show you by means of geometrical proofs which you will be able to follow, that of the number named by me and given in the work which I sent to Zeuxippus, some exceed not only the number of the mass of sand equal to the earth filled up, including the highest mountains and all seas and hollows, but also that of a mass equal in magnitude to the entire universe. Excuse me. Period. Oh, they dotted on. Now, Artisius of Samos, Hardbrecherate, c. 270 BC, brought out a book consisting of certain hypotheses, in which the premises lead to the result that the universe is many times greater than that now so called. His hypotheses are that the fixed stars and the sun remain unmoved The Earth revolves around the Sun in the circumference of the circle, the Sun lying in the middle of the orbit, and the sphere of the fixed stars situated about the same center is so great. The ratio of the sphere containing circle on which the Earth revolves bears to the sphere containing the fixed stars is the same as the ratio of the Earth's supposed center bears to what we normally describe as universe. All that exists, I think that's what they were trying to say. It exists. It exists. We see it with our own eyes. I say then. This is back to them in their quotes. I say then that even if a sphere were made up of sand, as great as Artesius supposes the sphere of the fixed stars to be, I shall still prove that of the numbers named in my hard bracket, my work, some exceed the number of the sand in the sphere, provided the following assumptions are made. 1. The perimeter of Earth is about 3 million strata, and not greater. My lord, these guys were thinking numbers. Here I'm entirely aware that some have tried to prove the perimeter is about 300,000 strata, so I'm even allowing it to be 10 times greater. My lord, this is a reaction rate. Water is a fuel. Oh my god, I gotta stop here. I think that was a heck of a ride, and I don't know if I'm reading the. Oh, they quoted that one in. But those were some real propositions. Archimedes goes on to consider practically all the remaining cases of this problem. That was a heck of a recording. I'm probably past 10. Ooh.